Okay. Well, welcome.
Hi.
Welcome to the
Hi,
stream.
thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're very well. Again, welcome. So yeah, I mean, I guess I can already tell a little bit by the picture that you've done the easy work, so to speak, like the stuff that makes sense, just like get your potentials in your three lines. But that doesn't mean that now you're on par with the people in the end game. There's still a whole bunch of stuff that can take you to that next level. Is that kind of where you're at with your account, with your character right now?
Yeah, it's how I feel right now. It feels like, all right, I've hit the standard that a lot of people talk about, and now it's like, I, there's this wall that
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I have to overcome, and it feels really bad, I guess.
Like trying to get to, like 40k Legion and 40k Culvert and
Mm-hmm.
that kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Trying to get
Yeah.
into like Sea Kalos and normal Kaling, that kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Extreme, Black Mage, all of those. All of those
Yeah,
bosses.
there's still so much left to try out, and luckily the party that I have, they really want to start pushing this stuff.
Okay.
Um, Originally, I wasn't really that type of player. I was just kind of like coast at 280, honestly. But they're really cool, and they're really motivating me to like really keep pushing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and obviously, like the guild also like helps pushing. So yeah, it's just been kind of rough, and I don't really know like how to make use of like how to make my time more efficient now. It feels like it's gonna take like ages to like push even
Mm-hmm.
like the smallest game at this point.
Yeah, that's the beauty or the horror of getting into endgame is that the efficiency per time that you spend just tanks, and you have to just fully commit to make sure that you can still keep seeing gains. But if you have an environment around you of people who will support you, and that definitely does make it a whole lot easier. Um, which I mean, what comes to mind when you're like, this is like a huge wall? Like, is it mainly the familiars? Is that like the thing where you're like, not sure what to? Because
I think
I mean,
it's
it's hit or miss, right? Like you hit,
mhm.
you hit or you don't. Yeah.
Yeah, for me it's like getting my gear a little better like through double primes. I feel is really it's just like I gotta save like a crap ton of meso based on
Mhm.
like the calculators, I think.
Mhm.
FAMs of course is like a big wall. I've tried here or there to like, oh, maybe I'll just like rank one up, and then I farm for a couple hours, and it like even going from like rare to epic it like fails, and it's just really demotivating. So I'm like,
Yeah.
well, what am I supposed to do? Uh, so, so yeah, it's just a bunch of small stuff like that. It's adding up. It's like
Mhm.
nothing's free anymore or easy
No.
anymore.
Well, that's why a lot of people move when they start scratching the surface of the end game. They start moving to like a side character or finding other characters to play, right, so that you can still feel like you can make gains. And the more characters you play, the more you can actually feel like pitches actually drop. But it's full cope because they just drop on other characters, so it doesn't really help you on your main. But that is one of the things why people tend to do that, so you can still feel like you're progressing. Um, So you're slowly, like, how much are you, like, what does a week look like basically? Like, how many bossing meals do you do? How much money do you roughly make? How many hours do you train? Just a little bit about.
Let's see. Boss mules. I think I have like 11 boss mules. I'm including my main.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I think altogether we make about 19 bill a week just from bossing. Grinding, I try to grind like 3 hours a day. And that I get like 1.2 bill a day if I'm not lazy, but my maple ranks will show that I'm kind of lazy now. The motivation is being shown there in the maple ranks. So yeah. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of like meso every week. And
Okay.
get nothing, then well, another week to wait for. So
Yeah,
so
as you're
yeah.
just sitting on, like, waiting on pitches and waiting for Eternals.
Yeah, yeah.
So which bosses are you doing now? Are you doing normal Kalos, easy Kaling, and then trying to make the next step?
Yeah, right now we're running normal Kalos, yeah, easy Kaling. Uh, I think we're trying to, like, the first one that we're trying to push for is like normal Kaling. Uh, but I think the issue is like finding a bishop. Is like the most common thing I'll hear a lot. It's
Yeah,
really
without a
tough.
support. Yeah.
Yeah, and that also like puts a lot of pressure on us. Is like, well, we really have to push our gear then if we can't find
Yeah.
a support. Uh, and just finding like a nice enough person is sometimes really hard. So yeah, or like people who are willing to like go on voice chat or communicate seems to be weirdly difficult.
Okay.
Let's see what else. And then of course under that it's like hard Saren, and we're running with like 5 people, and one person has emblem already, and another person doesn't really care for emblem, so that's good.
That's pretty fast.
Um,
Yeah.
you know, and then I solo everything else before that. I haven't really sold BM yet. Just wanted to get the Jenny weapon ASAP. So yeah, that's pretty much it. We're planning to do normal Kalos, no, I'm sorry, sea Kalos and all that stuff like by August, because that's when like the rest of our party members liberate. So there's a bit of a timeline, and I'm
Okay.
feeling pressure because
You try to get 285 for everyone by then,
yeah,
or?
yeah, by like August. So and yeah, they've kicked people before for not meeting the pace. So I'm a little, I'm a
Yeah, that's
little
the
worried.
downside of the more competitive, is that they're always going to be looking out for other people to fill the slots if people are sandbagging, basically, right?
Yeah, and I'm a dual blade. It's not the best class. We're trying our best.
Yeah, you're more. Yeah, I mean, it was really good when Surname came out and you could just spam those 5th jobs and just nuke everything, right? That was golden compared to, I mean, basically it was like Hayato's and that was it. Everyone else was kind of struggling in the beginning. And you guys were just soaring through it. But yeah, of course, now you've got slight shifts in everything. So you have 40 boss and 20 ID. That's pretty solid. It's not better than my DA has or something. And your Hexa is looking pretty solid too. But are you able to keep that up, like all of those bossing mules in 3 hours a day of training? That sounds like a lot to me.
Yeah, I used to kind of be lazy with boss mules. Only recently have I been like really like trying to get each one out. I try to space it out. I don't do all of them in like one day. And unfortunately, some of them I don't really enjoy that much. So it does kind of tax on the mental a bit. But I just kind of think about, well, I can't slack off. I gotta do my best,
Are you thinking of bringing another like character in when it comes to the hyperburn?
Yeah, I was like debating between, picking a class that would benefit my legion or just actually picking something I enjoy. So that's kind of been a choice I don't know what to make.
Enjoy as
If I
in like enjoy to boss on?
Yeah. Like I was gonna think like, oh, Hayato because of the 1% crit damage I would get, but I don't know if I would really enjoy Hayato. And I hear it's like not a fun bossing mule. That's what I hear. Although I don't know for sure. Mercedes is another option, but I'm not really good with the combo classes either. So yeah.
Yeah, that's really the Legion angle, right? Where it's like Mechanic, Hayato, Shade, Mercedes. Those are like the ones where you hit that 250 mark as well. But yeah, then the question is like, how much is the extra benefit of the 250 really, going to be like missing out on the potential of having a fun bossing mule every week that'll probably pretty easily do Hard Lotus and stuff below, right? Because another thing is when you're in this stage of the game is also like, are you gonna move up characters? Because once you get further into the pitch set, like the damaged Black Heart, you're gonna start probably running out of those if you really start using them, right? And getting your account set up to support you in terms of being able to build up more destroyed Black Hearts, because there's only so many people you can like duo with or run with that'll let you loot the heart and then or like exchange with, right? After a while you're gonna have to be yeah, you're looking past the whole like 22ing all your arcanes and getting all of your lines and everything. That's like that's the easy part, quote unquote. That's the simple part. That's not as complicated. But for the long term setup for your account, that's one thing to think about is how many hard Lotus mules are you going to make? Plus, hard Lotus rework coming out. That boss fight is probably also going to be quite a bit more challenging. That's what I would be looking at with a Hyperburn more, is like a character you would like bossing on and that you would at least bring up to like Hard Lotus, so that you can have an extra Black Heart contributor for your account. Because even if you do hit the heart from Extreme Lotus, which is still going to be, I mean, you'll probably be at the mark there, right, to be ready to start doing that when it comes out. But even if you do hit, like, there's probably going to be another character on your account that you like eventually that'll get some pitch and that you work your way up to. You can never have too many Black Hearts, right? Damaged Black Hearts. So, but if you're pushing that on one character, the expectation of how quickly that's going to come up on another character is probably going to be relatively low. So, when you're talking about potentials and stuff, and how much everything is going to cost, you're thinking more of like double priming stuff and potential 23s.
Oh yeah, it's come across my mind to just go for it, but part of me is like, it's a waste of money.
Well, on some items it is, right? And if you are like, you'll need the money for whenever you hit a pitch, so you can just send it, and you kind of know when you're going to be ready for Eternals, and then you'd probably still want to wait for an event around Eternals, I'm guessing, because Eternals can be really expensive without events.
Oh yeah.
And as long as you have enough money to just send a pitch whenever you get it, yeah, all of that message is sitting in your account. It would make sense to plan around cube sales and try to see those double primes. But I mean, yeah, priority stuff there is of course like the Genesis weapon is double prime technically, right? But it's like the other emblem. Once you get the Saren emblem, that's really the one where you get the green light, where it's a reasonable cost, because it's like just on cube sale it's under half a trill, so that's more doable, quote unquote. 23ing a Katara is also something for dual blades that's within the realm of reasonableness. I don't know if you've had like a whole inventory full of backups for that, because from what I hear, the kind of the bottleneck there is having enough inventory space for enough Kataras.
Yeah, that's been another issue, is like my inventory, I posted in the album also, it's like getting really full. Like I can barely like eat up all the symbols I get every day, and I'm just like, well, what can I don't know what to trash, or like just send. Like I don't, it's like that. I'm scared, like, oh, I'll regret it or something. So yeah, I just need to figure that out.
So what's your full drop and meso set? Is that in here as well? Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like after the inventory stuff.
Okay. Let's see. Because once you have pretty strong pieces here, you can get rid of things. Your Hex is already really strong, so that should keep up your damage quite a bit, even if you do go into Carcion. The new mastery, that's for your owl thing, right? And then gives passive damage to your main attack?
Yeah, Phantom Blow, yeah.
Have you started like saving fragments for that specifically? Because I see you have like 78 here. Are you basically just still sending?
Yeah, I'm just putting everything into Origin, because it would help our Hard Saren, and hopefully that'll become smaller. Yeah. And it'll like make the BA look good.
For sure. I mean, yeah, for C Kalos, you want to be able to nuke as hard as possible there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's when you're in a pitch transition, like a general overview for like maybe not only for you but like for everyone, is there's one step where people go early and they make spare pieces, 21 or 22 star pieces, and so that they can maintain their kill speed at the higher levels because they outpace getting pitches. If you're more slow or more lucky, and you do end up getting the pitches and you can swap out the gear, then you don't have to make those extra 21 and 22 star pieces to be hybrid drop meso pieces in that area, and then you save a lot of money that way. But I think for earrings you have two 22 superiors.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
One is like my damage one. One's that happened to send because I had extras.
Yeah, so I would be totally cool with you just dumping all the Estelle earrings, because I don't really see like a use for them really. You'd want to go into CFEs or stay right where you are, right? Because you need that set bonus to be completely broken by like a 6 or 7 set before it makes sense. So I don't see a position for Estelles in your account, since you do have the hybrid 22 superiors already. Even if you do, like, what would you do, like a 23 Estelle? But then, why? That's like so much money and doesn't really get you anything. I think that clears a whole lot of stuff up. I'm also wondering about the monocles. Are you like considering 23 in monocles or?
Originally, I was planning on waiting for a pat mark. The monocle I'm wearing now for damage used to be for drop. So I was like banking on hopefully a pat mark will drop, but eventually one day I just got bored and was like, oh fuck it, I'll just send this thing, and it went for free, nothing boomed. So I was like, oh okay. Well, we'll just do damage. So I might, I don't know. Unfortunately, when I was first starting farming Commercy coins, I kept like redeeming them, and I was like, wait, that's kind of dumb, and so that's why those are sitting in my inventory now.
Yeah, because that's one of the things where if you can have items in the form of coins versus in the form of items, you always want to, well, kind of like salt in the open wound now, I guess, but like you want to keep them as much as possible in currency, because of course in your use inventory they'll be like in a bag inside the bag for stacking up to 3k, and then but when they're in your equip window, they might be limiting your options in terms of backups a little bit. I mean, I guess not as much, but if those 7 monocles could be like 7 Kataras instead, that could get you, that much closer to, not maybe significantly, but it could be the one that hits to a 23 Katara instead. And since you're out there doing that, you'll be grabbing dineros as well. So you could get to the point where, I don't know, if you have enough dineros where you can afford, 7, 8, whatever backup monocles, you could also start dropping the monocles if you need to at that point, because then you could just buy them if you need them in the moment. If it becomes a matter of like trying to get like 30 or so whatever Kataras every single time whenever there's a Star Force event, but that could be a matter of planning ahead in terms of, okay, there's a Star Force event in that week, so I'm gonna make sure I have like that many Kataras by then. And then as you get closer and closer, it'll get more annoying to use your symbols. But we should get to the part of the symbols soon where you can just double click them and they just go into the equipped symbol right away instead of into your inventory first. So that takes the pressure off of needing the inventory space at that point. And then the inventory is really just going to be used for long-term backups. So that mainly be the daybreaks and the slime rings. And your current damage pendant is you're using a source and superior. Yeah, you don't have like one of those old transposed Sweetwater ones, right?
No, unfortunately.
No. Okay. Yeah, it gets pretty close to Daybreak, and eventually Daybreak could surpass, as long as, because you could near infinite keep flaming, right, which you cannot do on the other one. So you can technically surpass it. But yeah, that's mainly the ones that you want to keep for 23, would be the rings and the pendants, and then I would say the Kataras. Okay. I see you're also holding quite some Twilight marks. Current situations, you have a 22 for damage, and then I saw a tattoo with 1 line of drop. Are you considering like making a stronger one for drop rate or what?
Yeah, I was thinking maybe in the future I would 22 a Twilight mark for drop rate. I just that tattoo was just, I've had that for ages, so kind of just never I don't really know what to do with it. Maybe I would use my coins to 22 it. I don't know if that would be worth. So yeah, it's like between those two.
Yeah, I could always use an event, of course, to kind of like walk them up together, because you're not getting any set bonus off the Twilight mark. You'd have the benefit of the flame advantage over the non-flame. which, I mean, you could check with the monocle, right? What the difference is there. So the monocle at 22 is giving plus 131.92, and the twilight mark 103.78. So your flame would have to compensate for 28 stat and 14 attack. So it's like 40. There's like 70 flame score. So, yeah, that probably equates roughly around the same flame. What you could do is you could use the Twilights versus tattoo if you wanted the arrows, but you could kind of just step between the two and see if to walk it up. But it's more like a thing of like you see it as a possibility because there's stars to gain, or because you have the pieces and because you could spend money. You always want to look at like, does the upgrade significantly help you in any kind of capacity? You're good with the whole set, even if you bypass the like the pendant, for example. If you go for a spirit pendant, does your set still work then?
I lose like I think 20 drop or more if I use a spirit pendant right now. So yeah, I was thinking of like, oh, should I just hybrid something else also while I'm at it, or yeah.
Yeah, because you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 doubles. Yeah, 6, 9, that gets you to 15, yeah. So you're like right at that point. So if you do drop a pendant, probably to reinforce at this point, and you're at 2 drop. Which is always unfortunate. That means you need like 2 double drop items, but that's usually what it ends up being. And then you've got the Meister and the Sweetwater Tattoo. That would be the pieces that you either replace or turn into hybrids. I mean, you see we've been Meistering because they both also have like double prime with Lux, right? They're both triple prime items. Oh, you quite some Lux on your items. That's nice to have on top of that.
It's made it hard to like, oh, should I change it out?
Yeah, I mean that's or maybe the filling ring, I guess. What's the Meister situation? Are you considering making Meister rings on any other character, or?
No, I just kind of give them whatever kind of event rings, or even the Von Leon quest ring. I'll just throw on them.
Yeah, and once they're strong enough, you can like join some rings for see if you can get a slime somewhere, right? Even like 17 slime is very good on there. Because that's one thing to consider is if you have that many slimes and you're considering 23. I mean, it's very cheap comparatively to just make a 21 slime and turn that into a hybrid or like a double drop ring instead, right? Just one of them, because that would be like 1 or 2, maybe max 3 of them. But if you're looking at 23, you're looking at dozens of backups into the maybe 100 plus eventually. So taking a few of those to make a way stronger ring, that could be a potential. And then for your tattoo, you could do the Twilight Mark. Probably not cut into your dineros unless you have way too many. But because like I said, like with the flame advantage, it basically comes to around the same thing, and you're gonna have to fully recube anyway. So it's technically cheaper to do the Twilight because the refill cost from every cube is a little bit lower, right? I don't know, it's not a huge cost saving thing. Like if this thing already had like an amazing flame or something, I'd probably say just continue on these, and because you're going to be getting the dineros anyway going for your Kataras, so then you're already working on it. And the pendants, if you can get to the point where you can drop the pendant so that you can spare pendant plus all the other ones to keep that up, because then between the dojo and the weekly rewards, you could keep a spare pendant up, I think like 28 out of the 30 to 31 days.
Oh.
And if you're going to be like long-term training, I wrote that out somewhere. Oh god, now you're making me think. Where do I have that? That's part of, exclamation mark EXP is probably why I have that. Well, that and EXP and training, that's probably going to be changing quite a lot in part 2 because of the Soul Janus, right? And the extra base EXP is going to change quite a bit. But training in a lot of different maps, probably on average get more burn, right? So EXP now should go up quite nicely. Oh, here. I try to work it out a little bit here. So if you start with a dojo, Then you could buy 3-day dojo pendant, and then day 4 I believe is the day 3 reward is the spirit pendant, so you can use that one then for 7 days, and then you'll be in the next week. So then you can use dojo again. Then you have 1 day break, and then the week resets again. It'll shift a little bit depending on which day of the week is day 1 of the month, right? But essentially you can make it so you have like 1 or 2 days where you don't have a spirit pendant, but you can keep them up pretty much 100% of the time just by doing a little bit of dojo and just using the reward ones. And this is not counting the 1 month or 2 month prepared spirit pendants or anything like that. That makes it even easier. And then you don't have to worry about this. Then you could just save up dojo, or don't do dojo at all, and just because they're pretty cheap in there. It's like 3k points or something, so doing it 1 week will allow you to buy it for like a month plus, so that's pretty easy.
Yeah, I didn't know there was like a spirit pendant meta or schedule thing. That's really cool.
Yeah, I don't know if this is like meta, but I just thought of like writing this out, especially when you're early game and you might not have, or you're working on multiple characters or something, just to kind of have that as an example. Of course, with this one, you have to like switch it out, maybe pre-charge it overnight or while you're making dinner or whatever, so that it's ready. The pre-charge are just a godsend because you could just at any moment to tag it on, tag it off. Yeah, that's yeah, there's more EXP here, but that more has to do with there's like from the wiki, basically going into like the details and with the stacking of the coupons and everything. But that's why I wrote that out, because I think that's one little. I mean, it seems like a small detail, but getting that set completed will make sure that you're completely like done, right? And then make sure that any other area, because you will lose some damage, but not as much from the reinforced pendant. So even if you have like, I would say even if you have like a 19 ring and a 19 Twilight Mark or something, or I would be okay with 21 there, not necessarily need to push anything to 22, because 21 is just so much easier and is so close in terms of total damage that it gives, that with that, yeah, because you want to cover up a little bit the luck lines that you're losing, right, to make sure that when you get to Carcion you could just immediately get in there and get that juicy EXP without needing to, the threat of maybe not having the damage quite there. I think other than that, that's all solid. Oh, this is depression. What's going on here?
Yes.
I'm so weak. Class diff. Fuck me. Yeah, I mean, I hear people on Dual Blades being like upset with like the limitation of their character, but then they're also stronger than me in my arc. So I'm like, yeah, I'm like, okay, but what does that make me? Am I just like garbage then? I guess.
Arc, I always hear Arc is really, really freaking strong.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Dual Blade is bad. I guess your damage is just a little bit more spread out, a little bit more DPM because of your 5th job skills, right? Your tornadoes and your slash,
Maybe it's also like being compared to like the other thieves all the time.
Yeah, although is Shadower that far ahead in terms of like bursts for like Cicalas and stuff?
I'm not sure. I always hear they're like strong. I always hear that Shads are really strong, much stronger than Dual Blade, and of course they have that like smoke screen that helps parties too. So it's like I offer nothing.
Yeah, that's At least Nightlord has like the really big burst that it offers, or even like the 30% IED and the debuff on the box, like some drop rate, like all of that put together, that covers for that as well. And then Dual Blade has, what do you have, like Smoke Bomb?
No,
like, wow.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's given like a little bit more final damage. I don't even think it's shared. So yeah, I'm just I always feel like I could get fired at any time for any other class.
Mirror target, yeah, it's such huge value for the team. Yeah, doesn't even work on doesn't even work on Helix because of the familiars. Yeah. Friend quits because you're too strong to play with. Friend rejoins for events. RIP carry meta. Yeah, then they can't get back.
Yeah, that's actually what's happening now. Well, nowadays is like my friends would like to play Maple with us, but they feel. I mean, first of all, like they could be 260, but the thought of doing like 9 rocks is just outrageous, and I don't blame them. when I first did it. I spent hours just trying to push it. So they feel like they can't enjoy the game with us. And of course, like I have lower level characters I could like play with them with, but it's not the same, I guess.
That's what I would do. That's why I like having characters at like different stages of the game, so that I'll always be able to play with someone. Or if there's one party struggling and I have like a character, I'll always have a character that doesn't carry them and doesn't get carried by them, but that is like on the level somewhat. Now there's a big gap because I have like two characters over 280, and then the highest then is basically 260. So there's like that's where like a big gap is now. So something for like Heart Saren and Ikalos, I don't really have a character to join for that. Really, because I've got my own set of party, for the emblems and everything, and we got our loot rotation, so they want my damage there. But then, yeah, and of course doing normal Kalos and easy culling, which is definitely quite a step above just the easy Kalos and our Saren like starting struggle parties. So, but if you don't have at least a 265 to 270, you can't even get the sacred power to even get in there, because there's no sacred power from the event buff, no sacred power from hyper skill, so then you're kind of like stuck in between there. But you could see that as like, yeah, if you do want to do that as a alternative to like making that secondary and bringing a second character up. But then again, that time is cutting into your main character when you can still have those gains, and I see that more as a thing to do once you reach 285, if you're trying to do that with maybe not this party, but like there's probably a bunch of parties in Saga, I imagine, that are trying to do that at the same time. And it's not necessarily, if one party doesn't work out, it's not like you're now completely abandoned or destitute, right?
Yeah.
There should be at any given time, I imagine, like 10 or 15 parties are all trying to do that same thing.
Yeah,
but other people, it's hard to play and arrange your plans around other people's lives, because then as soon as you do, something comes up for them and they just ditch, and then you made all of these sacrifices and all of these changes, and then they're just gone again. That's been my experience.
Yeah, it's been the same for us. Like our the most annoying things that we've had to deal with is like, life happens, right? But rescheduling is always a pain, and there were times that I didn't show up for reasons, and I felt really bad, because I know that people like section off time just to do this. So yeah, that's also why it's like, yeah, I could probably find other parties or something in case like I get outpaced, but going through all that again, it just seems kind of painful. So yeah.
I mean, I'd think that in a guild like Saga, there would be just like some rooms where it's just like, hey, today we're running these two bosses, who wants to join? And then just like always like 3 or 4 people who are looking at any given time, so you'll always be able to fill up like instantly. But I guess you also have a lot of people who already have their static parties that they can't really switch from. There's
it seems like that. Yeah.
But it'd be almost better to make like a pool of just like 30 people, and then you just make parties from that. But then, yeah, you'd be fragmenting again, which is probably not ideal. Yeah, it can be tricky. Because nobody wants to leave it up to chance whether they're going to get a run that week. I imagine there's a lot of... The way I imagine it is that as soon as like Thursday reset hits, there's like 100 parties like instantly. Trying to like slam the boss immediately to get it done for the week. And then if you don't have it done by like Friday... Yeah, people are just grinding their fragments, I guess. All day, every day, yeah. Did you feel like it's possible for you to like join that, but it's maybe just a little bit beyond your reach in terms of the demands?
Yeah, like from what I've seen in the Saga guild, it's like a lot of people seem way stronger than me, so it feels like I can't even participate in what they're doing. So it feels like I'm on an island and I'm the only one here. I don't know what to do. So I'm sticking with what I got as best as possible. Or I could just like, chill and take a break and, just play with people, more at my pace. But the FOMO and like getting left behind, people are stronger than me now. I don't know how to juggle all that. I don't know.
Yeah, it can be a lot. Do you feel like a lot of times, like when the week is over, that there's stuff that you had to sacrifice that you wish you hadn't, or
Oh, for sure, for
yeah.
sure. Like IRL stuff,
Mm-hmm.
like imagine telling your friends, "Oh, sorry, I gotta do bosses today. I gotta leave." It's happened many times, and I feel so stupid for saying that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I gotta do what I gotta do. But I mean, especially now after I'm liberated, I feel like uh, the I like I want part of me wants to be take some time, more time
Mm-hmm.
for myself. But then of course the thought of like, well, I can't really stop playing too much because I'll get left behind. I won't be able to have enough meso for whatever comes, if anything comes. Stuff like that.
Well, there's a little bit less pressure on that now, right? That we know that our meso changes and stuff like that isn't coming. So I mean, it's not as much legacy meso as people were saying up to like a month ago, right? Up until we had the first, or a little bit more than a month ago, when we had the first Inkwell note. So I imagine that took at least a little bit of pressure off.
Yeah.
Because when you're, I mean, when you're talking about like pushing to the higher level bosses, it's really just like to get into Eternal faster, to do what? To kill the other bosses that also drop Eternal faster.
Yeah.
I mean, you're always
Yeah.
like, yeah, you're trying to get ahead of the curve, right? And when you're getting
Yeah.
ahead of the curve and you're getting into that end game, you are losing a lot of efficiency. This is why a lot of people game hop. It's not because they
Mhm.
can't like be loyal to a game or something. It's because when they have limited time and other life stuff comes up, and if you go too far into a game, you just don't get that same value per time. But then if you switch to another game that you haven't played in 2 years, now you can make huge gains there in a little bit of time until you start catching up to like the late game and stuff like that, and then you can switch back to another game. And then if you have a rotation of 3 to 4 games like that, the individual time you get per the individual value you get per time spent just goes up tremendously. But it also means that you're never going to be competitive in like end game in any of those games ever. It's just not possible because you're going to be competing with people who don't do that and who keep endlessly grinding. Yeah, but I feel like if you enjoy long grind sessions and stuff like that, it's this game will keep giving you those endorphin hits and those always the bags of meso and the little fragments, and yeah, they know what they're doing. They designed that pretty well. Is the rest of your party like already a little bit ahead of you? Is that why you're kind of feeling
Oh,
it?
oh yeah, they're like a level and a good chunk ahead of me. And then one person's like already 285 basically, and unfortunately, there have been people we've had to sack because they aren't making pace, or they've like, it's daily time, so Maple daily life now. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't want. I'm in like that middle where it's like I'm getting outpaced, and I don't want to get kicked, but I like to do other stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel a little bit weird in that sense because I'm not gonna like tell you that you need to make a decision in the moment, but to me it feels like there's just like a pressure on you that you're just not okay with dealing with, and I think that's totally okay as well. I mean, that's why guilds have 200 spots and not 2,000, right? Otherwise, everyone would just be in the same guild and wouldn't be having the problem. There has to be like some level of what are you willing to sacrifice to get ahead in the game. And it's not like a thing that you just decide at some point and then you have to commit to that for the rest of your life. Basically, every single week you can just reassess that point. And depending on the kind of connection you have with the people in the guild, it could be like, oh yeah, I do something else for a while. But typically, the goals of whatever guild that's trying to push endgame is going to keep pushing forward. It might be like 40k culvert now, and then you might be like, oh, I'm gonna do other stuff, not play as much, and then when you come back, it's got to be like 45k or it's going to be 50k requirement, right? If they want to push for number one, they do have to be that strict, and yeah, that isn't for everyone, but that's the whole point. Yeah, for my guild, we're way less like strict in that kind of stuff, but we do also want to make sure that nobody's like hardcore sandbagging or not, not logging in for a certain amount of time. Yeah, to me, like if I hear you have like 10 boss meals plus 3 hours a day of grinding and like all the other stuff. That sounds like a lot to me. That's already way more than I would. Like I do half an hour training a day, and I've been able to keep that up for for a bit now. But I mean, yeah, I do dailies on a lot of characters, do a lot of bossing as well. But yeah, my pace is just like very, very different. I think I started practicing Black Mage probably like 3 months or so after the first people already liberated. So I'm totally fine with like being way behind that curve and basically always being on that edge of like late game and end game. Because typically, as soon as I start entering the end game, other stuff will come up and will push me out again. You know, like big new age changes will come out, and I'm like okay with that. And then that also means that for the guild, the people who do want to push endgame are always going to be end up like leaving for other guilds. A lot of them have moved on to Epic and to Savages and to Excel and to Saga as well. It's where a lot of people who were in the guild at some point end up at, because you want to be in an environment of people who can like stimulate you in that way and also support you in that way. But it is, I don't want to say like cutthroat, but it is way more competitive, and it needs to be for it to succeed. But it is good to take a step for yourself, take a step back every now and then, and reassess is this worth the sacrifices? Because your social life, building connections in real life, those can be way more important. Say something happens, I don't know, like medically or financially, you have people around you who can help you out because you have a good connection with them and you can help them out. That's infinitely more valuable than, oh guys, something came up, and then next week you come back like, oh, we replaced you in the boss runs because you didn't show up for 2 weeks. It does. If you can have both, like that's the dream world, right? But that is insanely hard to build. You pretty much already want that connection before you're going into it, or you want to be running with the same crew for so long that they'll just keep a spot for you no matter what. It doesn't seem like you've quite found like that group of people yet, right?
I haven't really told them how it felt, so gulp. I'll have to at some point.
Yeah, I don't know if you have more people than you might know in the party who are like also kind of like struggling to make, but that group of people is like way bigger. But the problem is if you have a group where it's like 2 people basically always make time for it and able to always make time, and 4 people like something always comes up, eventually that party is just not going to function as well, because if you're not all in the same like phase there, that's just going to create friction. It's going to be like, oh, we're always waiting for that person, or we're always waiting for that person, and they probably have a daily to do so they can just fill the time, but it's not going to feel good that there's one person you're always waiting for, or one person that you're always rescheduling for. I mean, rescheduling is 2 things, right? Rescheduling because something comes up is one thing. Rescheduling because you like fail runs and you have to rerun, that's like the worst thing, especially if it's several times per week, right?
Yeah.
Does that still happen, or is that like more a thing of the past?
That's happened when we were first learning Kalos and Calling 100%. Like we would do like 2-hour practices, and then we'd fail, or sometimes even now if something goes wrong, it feels bad, like for sure. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and to an extent, if someone is in a party where stuff goes wrong, you're in that party because, like, I know that I'm in parties where stuff goes wrong, but I don't really want to blame other people, because if I was such a fucking Giga Chad Ultra Gamer, then I wouldn't be doing this boss. I would be doing Sea Colors right now, and I have a completely different set of problems. But I know people who are strong enough to do Sea Colors, and they do that, but they're also constantly looking for other parties, or they're in parties where things go wrong like 4 or 5 times in a week, and then it's like we end up settling for a normal Kalos run. It's like, damn, that's like a whole life of like issues that I don't want either. That's a whole different set of problems that you then have to deal with, because then those boss runs get longer again, and now it's like, now I can do those runs on my DA and on my ARC, and I can still do like C10A duos with a bunch of people, and like I could fit all of that into the schedule. But if I would have to do like extreme BM with like several runs and C Kalos, normal culling like every single week, I would just want to be way, way, way stronger before I feel like that's like a reasonable thing to get into. And then that does mean that I'm basically like a year behind the curve on like a lot of people, but I'm totally okay with that, because I just can't I can't be bothered to, like, I'm on the game a lot, but I'm like quote unquote like making content. I'm not just grinding and playing the game all of that time. If I was, I'd be way further in the game than I am now, but that's the choice that I made, and that makes sense for me. And even with that, I I reassess very regularly, like, okay, how was this last week? Like, do I feel like I had enough time to, look at patch notes that came out, or make content, or update a command, for more information, or answer people's questions, or do sessions like these. Because I imagine, like you were saying, you have to say like, oh no, I have to go do bosses now. Is that because of stuff that just comes up, or because if I would know like, oh, I have bosses in like half an hour, I'm not gonna go out right before that or something, right? But I don't know like what your situation is like. If you feel like you need that liberty in your life more to be able to just say, oh, I'm just gonna like blow off Maple for an entire day or two, and because I'm just gonna do this other shit. And this pace doesn't allow you to do that. Yeah, then that's just, what is it, incommensurable, right? That's like the term, I think. Like that, you can't just, you'll have to choose one of the or the other. There's no way really around that.
Yeah. Well, the way my life structured, it's like I like to just go out whenever. So that's why it becomes an issue when it's like, oh, we have Maple, but this like impromptu volleyball thing we're doing with friends is happening. It's like, well, I want to do both. And so, and I am a little competitive too. So it's like, I don't know what to do. Yeah.
It's understandable. But it is rough. I mean, and you're still young, right? You wanna like the thing that happens for me is like people who are like furthering careers and have kids and stuff, and things come up for them. I'm always like okay with like starting to shuffle things around. If someone has a sick kid or someone has like irregular shifts at work, and it's like, oh, every single time because we usually run on weekends, but then one person or one or two people have like irregular shifts, and they only know what their shift is going to be by like Friday. So at Friday they post like, when can we run this or this time, and then we lock it in, and then it's just locked in at that point for the week, and then everything else, you just do whatever the hell you want in the rest of your life. Just make sure you show up then, perform then, and then you just do whatever you want again throughout the week. It might be that there are other parties in Saga of like people around your point as well who are more like that, where they want to be more flexible, but probably not to the point where, oh, I'm just okay skipping like a week or two of Kalos because Eternal's already, I mean, they don't take forever. they're a lot better than pitched, but still then it still takes a while. And there might be pressure. Yeah, and that's the other thing, right? If you hit 22 on your first one or something, the pressure might already go way down in terms of how much do you feel like you need to be there every single week and need to be in a party because you're missing out otherwise. That FOMO is just, that's so strong in this game. They do that so well, which I hate, but they're probably like the best at like the FOMO in terms of
the pioneers of
the limitations and the biggest, I very, very rarely hear people talk about this, but I think the biggest thing is because we are 6 months behind KMS, we're constantly pining over the stuff that's coming in 6 months, so we're always preparing. We're perpetually preparing. And that's like they've got everyone by the balls with that. And or whatever else is dangling down there. So if you know for a moment that you're like, I'm basically just playing the game to be ready in 6 months perpetually, and that's my life, it's okay to not be okay with that, and to live life and to go out sometimes and be in the moment there, and not be like with one part of your head be like, oh no, I could be getting these gains. Like my goal is always to get people to like want to log in to do things, and when you log off to be happy with what you accomplished. If you notice that you're logging off and your first thing is like, oh, I missed out on this and this and this, that's not good. That's either like a reassessing of time management or a reassessing of priorities that you do want to get into. Because I mean, I see like fucking depression here. This is not like a positive like, oh, I'm gonna log in. I'm looking forward to being part of a C Kalos party, and I'm okay with like the requirements and the effort that is necessary to reach that. I'm not saying that you need to like suck it up and just do 5 hours a day instead, or just drop it all together. But there is like a pros and cons list, and maybe 1 week you go a little bit harder and 1 week you do a little bit less. But yeah, maybe a party that's more flexible in that, or it sucks to feel like you have to like compromise to that extent because you might get dropped, right? That can't feel good. Well, your party knows now, maybe.
Oh, I mean,
It's
yeah,
out there now. Yeah.
like I've been posting memes like this. They're like,
Uh-huh.
guys, this is my cry for help. This is what I'm going through.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Or has anyone
Uh,
reached out and be like, see what we could do as a party to kind of like plan around
uh,
that, or is it just like,
well,
haha, thumbs up and
no, people within
carry
my
on?
group are like, it's cool if you feel this way. They're really nice. They're really supportive. Um,
Okay.
and I know that, but it's still like I feel like I finally reached a point where it's like, oh, I could get ahead, but now I feel like, it's priorities. But I do see like a
So ahead of
possibility
what
where
then? Do you feel like ahead of the game or?
like not maybe not ahead, but like I won't be missing out. Like, okay, finally I can get Eternals and I don't have to sweat about anything else that comes in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Because before it was like, oh god, arcanes are a thing that are so much easier now, so I should get them. Now Eternals are like, uh, they're not that easy still, but I could finally like get ahead, and I don't know. It just seems like I can
Mm-hmm.
be in a place where I don't have to FOMO so much anymore if I were to hit.
I mean, there is that content creep, right? Because you talked about like a friend coming in and being like, oh no, the 9 stones. But I think back of when Fifth Job came out and the amount of wait times in the stones then, and I'm thinking like, oh, Sixth Job is pretty good. Comparing it to the 22-hour wait time back then, right? Because they needed to bottleneck people to not have everyone float into Vanishing Journey at the same time and destroying the whole continent.
Mm.
Now because Sixth Job, what they did was they already deployed all of the areas so people would be more spread out, and then that way they could allow people to get into Sixth Job way faster. Comparing on how strong you are, I mean, like if you're really really strong, you got event buff and everything, you could do a rock every 15 minutes, but it could be up to like 45 minutes per rock, or maybe even longer if you don't have all of those buffs going. So it'll definitely take a while. But I mean, what else are you going to be doing in that time? You're going to be training anyway, but now you're going to be training, and there's a pot of gold in the form of Sixth Job, which is a huge power spike.
Yeah.
For most characters, just the origin and the mastery core combined is like 50% FD, like around there. It's massive for a lot of classes. So, and most people who are more casual, typically not the biggest bossers, giving you an extra iframe and an extra bind on bosses and being able to nuke certain bosses like Helix now. For a lot of people, still up to 260, Helix is still like kind of spooky because of the 1 attempt per day. But you give someone an origin and like everyone just like nukes the shit out of that thing. So that boss becomes a joke. That means Superior Golic's thing becomes a more, guaranteed thing and a more manageable thing in a time frame. That's the one thing. And the other thing is the what were you talking about before this? This is the Sixth Job thing, and there was another thing. Oh yeah, the contact group. So like when Arcane came out, it was really difficult. So for the longest time, I would tell people, don't even think about Arcane. Just get High Star Force Abzo. It'll be stronger, faster, easier. You'll be stronger than the people who are trying to go for Arcanes. Like, it doesn't make any sense. You have to farm for every single droplet. It was stupid, right? But that's the other thing, is that now they made the easy bosses and they got those way earlier in, whereas the time between releasing normal Lucid and easy Lucid was quite some time. And you can immediately from easy start getting the Eternals, where still now easy Lucid and Will doesn't get you any step closer to Arcane, right? So it is for people who just get into are probably between 265 and 270. They can already start saving up for Eternals, which is kind of wild. But again, that's really good design, because that means you're invested in the process of getting to Eternals even easier now, and now you're locked in. And if you at any time lock out, yeah, it's just something that might take you months, now it takes you years. And everything feels like an active choice of letting go, or clamping on for dear life, and being along for the ride. But this is tricky though, because I think a lot of people are in, to varying degrees, similar situations as you, where there's so much that you can do, but it feels like in order to get somewhere in this game, you have to sacrifice everything for it. And it's fun a lot of the times, but you never know if you could be having a lot more fun with other things because you're just too busy doing this, So yeah, it's I can't really tell you what to do or break it down. I don't know what the right call is. I mean, I would just feel like if there are too many times, but yeah, what is that limit? But if there are too many times where you're like, I wish I could have gone and done this, but I had to maple. Like at a certain point, I feel like there's a limit where you'll just like, yeah, I guess it just isn't working out. Like, I mean, I've sacrificed. Yeah, I don't have to tell you about how much I've sacrificed in the last 8.5 years trying to do this for content. I mean, the amount of hours I've streamed and everything, I've forgone a whole lot of things. But I'm trying to do that less and less now as well. You know, waking up later and then being like, oh, I have to stream, and be like, well, I haven't gone and worked out in a long time. I'm just gonna go work out first, and then if I feel like it, I'll stream later. You know, at a certain point, if you don't choose you as number one, no one else is really going to. So you kind of have to, you know.
True. All right, looks like I gotta let anyone at my pace wanna make a party. Anyone there?
Yeah, and I imagine there's way more people than you might think. It's hard to find each other though. That's kind of the problem on like, especially because in Maple, there's probably a lot of guilds. I imagine if you're picking any guild that's in the top 10, they have to be like on everyone's ass the whole time, because that's where you get those extra skill points, right? But between like rank 10 and probably like guild rank, I don't know, probably like 75 or something, the G skills are exactly the same.
Yeah.
And that's probably like, I don't know, like 100 people per guild over 65 guilds. That's 6,500 people that are probably in like more similar phase than you in terms of how much free time do you really have and can you really make it happen. And that's why you have those bossing discords that start with like 6 people to like set up a party, and then, oh, we need to fill. Oh, someone's friends can join when someone thing came up. And then eventually you have like 15 discords that you're in with like 25 people in it.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. Yeah.
Yeah. I think everyone has those, and every now and then you go through these and you're like, what boss party was this even for? You're like, last message, like 2022. You're like, okay, let me leave this thing, because why am I the leader in this Discord? You know, like everyone else left and you're like alone and you're like the Discord leader. Yeah. I think that happens a lot, but like trying to find the people who are quick will get their parties quick, and I think that's why you have a lot of people who are just like, oh, you know, looking for a fast Viella party, and they're like level 280 with like 180 million combat power or something, and just like go into the right corner, just nuke the boss, try to get a ring box, and fuck off for the rest of the day. I understand those people more and more, because if it's your main character, that might not be the best way to go about like progressing through the game, but God, there's, you know, everyone's life is so busy, and you want to get at least the chance in, and if you get it, you lose the blink. It's whatever. There's people playing this game at a lot of different paces, and I feel like there's got to be something that matches just your vibe a little bit more, so that you don't feel like, oh, I want to go volleyball. It's like, oh, I can't. You know, I have to kill this boss. Like, that sucks. Or that you can send a message and be like, hey, can we delay it by like an hour today or something? If people could do that, then you could just be like, okay, I can join, but I can only go for like an hour. And then if it's not very much fun, then you can ditch anyway. And if it's really fun, then, you know, next time maybe say like, I can go film me this week, or can we shift it to another day because it's going to be fun, you know? You'll find people with varying levels of understanding in that.
I just gotta search. I just gotta look for them.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the thing. We had a lot of people coming into the guild, and they're like, oh, we're looking for certain boss parties, and I just can't find people, and then they leave to a different guild. And I'm like, I don't see how that necessarily makes finding party more easy, because you can still communicate with those people, even if from a different guild. But, you have to put your feelers out in a lot of different places, you know. Yeah, Discords, Twitch chats, buddy lists, fucking alliances with big guilds, right? Because that's also really big. If you have like 5 big guilds, I don't know what Saga probably has a pretty big alliance as well, right? So you have people in there as well that are looking.
I think our alliance is a mule guild at the moment.
Okay, just that, and otherwise you're just alone.
I guess so. Yeah, I think so.
I mean, it can also lead to like guild drama and like a very busy chat, of course. So you'd have to really iron that out. That you're, you know, that kind of makes sense. If you feel like there's like enough people and enough work going on, I mean, you have like an extra guild manager to like manage like alliance relations and all that. Like, you know, it can be a lot of work
Yeah.
to make all of that tick.
I was also
yeah.
wondering real quick, like what it's like for you to like manage a guild, because I've also had that thought of like, oh, what if I just start my own, my own little group and see what happens. Looks like a lot of fun, and I don't know if that like brings you like a different type of like fulfillment and joy in the game. Like how has that been like for you?
Everything for me has always been downstream from doing content. Having the guild, I don't know what made me decide to do it. I guess part of it was like I thought it would be interesting to see if it could just work, you know, and also to see if it'd be funny, because basically people have my name, the name like under their name, and they're running through the game. They're all basically like, it's like those cars that are like plastered with like, fucking advertisement. People are basically like an advertisement for you, with all of its downsides as well, of course, right? Because if people like fuck up, then it reflects poorly on you. But that'd be pretty interesting just to see if we could get enough people. And just like with the stream, it's probably because of my personality as well. I'm not like anything specifically a lot of. I'm not like very big Legion or very big Endgame or very big like let's get all the new people in. I'm kind of just like a little bit of everything. So people who have a very specific desire tend to not stick around forever. But we have a lot of people who also just like have busy lives, have busy jobs. They might play a lot during some time and then play a lot less during another time. But they know that if they join my guild and they join in, that they're never going to be real like immediately kicked because they're not online for 2 days. But also if they don't log in for a year, they're probably going to be kicked. It's not like completely no strings attached. So it's like a little bit in between. So yeah, or people who just have kids or stuff like that, where it's not like, oh wow, I guess you're out now. A lot of people find parties within the guild, or they have party with like a few people in the guild, a few people from the chat. A lot of people in the chat that are there a lot are not in the guild, and some people are in the guild and they're never in the chat. It's not a one-to-one. But as far as like managing the guild goes, there were people, and you do find people eventually also through the community that like took some of the responsibilities on them. And to an extent it does feel like something that's kind of like going parallel, that's not really mine. But the guild never really feels like mine, but that's because of how I run it, is that I'm not running it. I'm always like, if there's anything big, I'm just like asking the people who are in the voice chat a lot, or the people who have like a bunch of boss mules or stronger characters in the guild, like asking them like, how do you guys think about this? I'm never making any decisions like unilaterally like that. I could do that, that could be what you do. You could be like, okay, we're going to do this more. I do switch, but I do always have like the final say, and I do switch some things. Like sometimes I'll just be like, oh, we're going to make the main guild for like 265 plus instead of 260 plus, because everyone can just hyperburn a character up to 260. That doesn't really mean that it's a strong main. So from now on, we're just gonna have like a little bit more. And I don't really. That's I guess unilateral. I don't really talk to other people about that decision, but it's in line with like the general discussion of that we had before of like, yeah, let's kick some people who haven't been around forever, and let's try to aim for. We always want to maintain the guild skills, and when it came to like, what do you do with guild skills? That itself in the decision, like, do you give it to everyone? Do you make people do some stuff? How much do you make them do? How long for? Are you gonna like? And for me, it's always like trying to find a practical way of like making sure that nobody's hardcore sandbagging, but also making sure that we don't have to have like one dedicated person who has to like keep a spreadsheet of like 180 people to see if they did their homework or not that week. Because fuck all of that. Like, we're not like babysitter service. Everyone here is adult. So. So the rules were just like, hey, if you do culvert or flag, you keep your G skills. If you don't do either one, you get demoted. And if you want to get ranked back up, you need to do flag race and culvert. Boom. That was the rule. Now that the flag race is only one lap, culvert has like the reset and everything. People have been getting better scores. You see the Hexa matrix, people putting in more pressure, wanting to do multiple runs and everything. But yeah, we do like as much guidance as needed to make sure that we create like. But now the big problem is like getting new people and getting people into parties, because we have that core of people who have been here for a long time and they do a lot of exchange carries and stuff. And then the new people in feel like if there's not enough new people for the same thing coming in at the same time to party with, they feel like they can't really jump into those other parties because they'll have like preferential treatment there towards themselves, right? Because they've been gaming together, basically a group of friends now. So like, if there's a spot, then you can join, but if there's no spot, then you got to make your own party and have people. There's always going to be a group of people who just join and they want things to be done for them that they can just join in on. But I'm always looking for the people who are willing to go that little bit extra mile and just reach out and be like, hey, I'm trying to make a party for this. I've got 2 people. Can you keep an eye out, or can you help me find 2 more people or something? If someone does that, like, I will always be helping the people who help themselves. But the majority of people are going to just join and be like, why isn't everything being done for me? And then they'll leave again. And it's... For me, it's really hard to not take it personally because you still see it as a level of like personal failure when someone just leaves the guild, especially when it's. I get super fucking triggered if someone is like in the guild for a while, they don't do anything, they never talk, and then they suddenly just leave, and it's like. You didn't even try. I feel like you didn't even try, Like, at least communicate, be like, hey, I'm trying to find a party for this and this. Does anyone else have a party for this and this? Can you maybe do a shout out every now and then? Can we maybe make a post somewhere, There's a whole guild room in the Discord. There's boss rooms in my Discord where you can just like get the rank, just add everyone and be like, hey, I want to start making Black Mage practice runs. But I'll go in there. People are like, oh, I've tried to look for a party everywhere and it doesn't go. And then I look in those rooms and there was like one message like 3 months ago and then no follow-up, no nothing. And maybe there were other messages, but then no replies to them. And it's like, it's hard because there's a lot of places to look. So every single individual place doesn't have a million people. But you just have to put in the work to, especially getting that party together in the beginning, right? That's the hard part. So, but once you get through that, once it starts running, once the practice starts running, it's finding one fill for a 5-man is very easy. It's easier than finding 5 people to for a completely new party. And it's the same thing with a guild, right? Finding a guild that already kind of does what you kind of want and then joining that's easier than building one from the ground up. That's tough, especially in the beginning, not being level 30 for a long time. I don't know if Saga's level 30 yet. Like, it takes quite a while to level it. 25 is very fast, but then 25 to 30 takes a while. It's not, that important, but it does look different in terms of like the levels and how long you've been around and everything. And Guild Castle, it's mostly just the enhancement room, but like that takes a while to build up as well. And I don't know, there might be some guilds already. I don't know if you have friends that have guilds already where you could already have a big say in it as well without having to go through all the trouble of starting from the ground up. And
we've tried to make like my actual friends IRL. We tried to make like a guild for ourselves in the past, but we're all kind of late. Well, before we were all really lazy to do like culvert ourselves and flag ourselves, so it just kind of went nowhere.
I see. I'm usually I do like I have stronger characters, so I don't mind doing the culvert because I know comparatively my characters can get good scores. And then for flag, other people were doing like if you know that your culvert is going to be shit anyway, I was like just invest that time into flag instead. But there definitely were times. There was probably like a stretch of probably like a year where I would do like culvert and flag on like 10, 11 characters a week, which was quite a significant amount of time. Now that like I said, now that flag is just one lap, I've run flag twice in like the last 6 weeks or something. And I basically just do my culverts. That's what I'm focusing on. And also because the main guild, once you get to that batch where your rank really doesn't matter anymore for your G skills, once you get to like the 49 skill points, like the next step is being like top 10, right? So if one or two runs aren't as good, or you forget 1 or 2 characters, it's not that big of a deal. But our Mule guild was a little bit wavering back and forth between the G skills, so now I'm just focusing on those culverts a little bit more. To make sure that we hit that mark for the G skills. But that is something to sacrifice for like the greater good. But you probably will, especially if you're the leader, will disproportionately have more characters in the guild that you're benefiting from. So you're also going to have to like disproportionately work on that to maintain. I think that's only fair. But again, you can set all the rules, right? You can say like, hey, if you don't do culvert, then you don't get access to the enhancement room or something. If you have that as leverage, then people will be more like, oh yeah, that's understandable. That takes a lot of work to get to, and especially if it's new people that didn't actively work on building that up, so they can also see like, yeah, I mean that it'll be a standard past a certain point, but like an enhancement room takes a while to build up. We finally have the one in the Mule Guild now as well, and it is a lot easier, so you don't have to like move characters around to buy the totems anymore. For example, you can just buy them there. You don't have to move around to upgrade. That's good extra value, and you can leverage that value. But yeah, building a good Discord. Yeah, I don't know. There's quite a lot of guilds out there that are just like, hey, just randomly join. If you want to culvert, you want to flag, that's cool. And if you want to leave, that's cool. You know, just completely open. And those kind of guilds are perfect for like boss mules because you very quickly can get to like anywhere from 25 to like 35 skill points. And that's perfect for a mule guild. But first of all, you have to like, write down like what the fuck is the purpose even of this guild. You know, why would someone want to join this one and not another one?
Okay.
But yeah, having a group of friends is a good idea to do it with, because then at least you can kind of share the load and not have to do everything yourself, because that can get very annoying very quickly. Because you have all the responsibility, you have all the freedom, but all of the responsibility.
That was very helpful. Thank you. Yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. I don't know if there's anything else.
I mean, in terms of the specific requirements, and I mean, familiars, good luck with the gamble.
Yeah.
Like, there's not much to say about that. You got some black cards, but we talked about that, right? Building in terms of the hyperburn and everything. Seeing if you can prep your account in that sense for the pitch set. We talked about the items to hold and which ones you can let go of. So you can definitely start stockpiling some Kataras. That'll be nice. I think your flames on average were really good. I think I remember looking at them ahead of time. Although I wasn't sure. Oh, because of dual blade. Yeah, they're going to be higher, right? Because you're taking the extended stats.
Yeah,
the double secondaries. Yeah. But still, despite that, they're so good. What are you using as a multiplier? Are you using 10 to 1? What are you using for all stat? Are you using 11, 12?
I use that website. I forget what it's called, but it like has the thing where it's like, I think it's Scar late game or end game, and I pick the end game button. I just click that, so whatever that says.
Is it mine or is it the?
I think it's yours.
Or yeah, Sethy Boy. I made it. The one that's like pretty bland and nice and.
Oh no, it's not the white
industrial.
one.
No, not
It's
this one.
this
Okay.
one. Yeah.
It's probably. I'm guessing it might be the Math Bros one, right? And then you can click check the score. This one.
Oh wait, let me find it. Let me see. The Starlines GitHub.io one.
Oh, Starline's one. Okay.
Yeah.
It's another one. Okay. Yeah. So if you for endgame, if you put 1 for you, how much does it give you? Does it give you like 12 or? 'Cause you got like the double secondary stats.
Let me see. Let me find this thing. Item flame settings. So it says Scardor endgame. So all stat it says 9. That yeah.
Yeah, we made some updates because of the shifts of stats and everything. I guess I didn't tell him specifically because this is the one. Because I had the values originally, and then Seth made this one, and I know it's been used as input to other people as well. But we have updated a little bit to make it so that especially if you like picking Sherwood DB Katana for Cadena for endgame, that with the all stat that it does go up. I wasn't sure if it should be 11 or 12, so I put it at 11.5. Basically, the goal has been for like a while is to basically use like the full-on calculator and just like to simulate what would a character be, and then have essentially. Oh, I just closed it. But then basically have the stat equivalences for a character in a certain stage, and then have that as the input, right, for the flame calculator, which is what you would want, just to make sure that when you're trying to do long game, long term and game combined, long game, planning in terms of like where do you throw your money when you were talking about those huge investments, right? That to make sure that you are not just calculating a number to have a number, but that the number actually represents what it's supposed to represent. Because a lot of times people are like, oh, all set is 8. And I was like, okay, it was at some point, but now it's not. It's like, oh, I still calculate 8. It's like, okay, but then what's the value of the number then, right? The number is supposed to mean something. And what it's supposed to mean is like the average expected value in terms of other flame outcomes. That's why I do like the value change a lot for the weapon flame that Methro made here, so that you can basically, if you have the equivalences, you can set the equivalence to a flame score for a weapon, which initially seems weird, but it makes more sense when you're talking about like, well, do you go for tier 6 with like a bunch of damage, or do you go for tier 7 with like all stat and strength? Is that actually better or is that worse, right? So that way you're comparing more 1-to-1, so it makes sense. I don't know what the flame was here. Oh, level 200. Okay, 212, nice. Yeah, so but then you'd have to know these numbers, right? These are like standard, somewhat, relevant. But it could be different for you, so then you'd have to switch those numbers around to make sure that this makes sense and that, this makes sense. If you're going to be determining how many hundreds of billions you're throwing at different projects, it'll be good to know what those numbers exactly are. So I don't know if you've ever did like the full-on calculator.
No, I'm so lazy.
Yeah. It is a lot of work, but if you are predominantly playing one character and you are... if you're predominantly doing one character and you are doing that for the long term, I would consider investing in that, just so that you can... Because you could create like a perfect scenario, right? What you are eventually going to, and then pull from that your stat equivalences, and then you'll know what your stat equivalences will be, and that'll give you exact numbers on how everything will compare to each other. And basically all you'll have to do is just, whenever new information comes in Korea, throw a different number in there. Like if a new piece of Eternal comes out or something like that, that'll basically be the only thing that changes. Or if, a year down the line, the jet buff is gone, like the all stat and the weapon attack and the crit damage, like how is that maybe gonna shift things? Because you're looking at upgrades not for, a few weeks or a few months. You're looking at upgrades for 6 months to a year plus. So it would make more sense if you also have the background and the maths to support that. Or just go make a level 260 and play with your friends and build up and kind of remember what it used to be like. Play with the BGMs on and listen to the areas, and kind of nostalgia trip as you're gaming, and varying levels of seriousness, I guess, with that.
Yeah.
Pets, your gears, of course, it's all really good. There's some drop rate stuff you can work on, but the question is it necessary, right? Just because you can doesn't mean you should. All arcanes, yes, erase all, really nice. Yeah, that hat is going to be hard to replace. That's why people, I don't know if you had that, but like with Eternals and stuff, a lot of people are like, well, do I go for like all the pieces first? Do I just try to walk some stuff up to 19? Do I go for 21 or 22? A lot of people like to go for the... I don't know if you have a plan for that.
Yeah, I did ask my guild and the dual blades, like, they basically say send that hat and pray to God, and then of course you still have to cube it. So yeah, for me, I think my plan is to just full send the hat 22, pray the cooldowns there at least, and then worry about everything else. I already boomed one, so we gotta wait again.
Yep. Well, I heard the other people in the guild, some of them are at like 7 or something.
Yeah, I see a lot of 22s.
Yeah, but I see a lot of 22s. I probably see more. There's probably more traces than 22s, though, right?
Oh yeah. I don't see the traces, but yeah, probably.
Well, yeah, but nobody shares their traces because it's like, or every now and then, but like more people are going to be sharing their 20. Or you see the Smegas, and you see all the people with all the 22 pitches, right? But like, how many booms is that? How many runs of other people is that? You're only seeing those successes, but that feeds into the FOMO, where like the item Smega, again, such a brilliant thing, because that's just pure peer pressure, like that people pay for to enact onto other people. Like it's It's diabolical, but it works. You know.
It worked. Yeah, it worked on me. That's why I boomed my hat off event. Was like, oh my god, everyone's hitting 22s. It could be me. I could be next. And then
It
I
could be
tried it.
you.
And
Yeah.
it didn't turn out
But it
well.
probably won't be. But it could be. You know. Yeah, that's how they get you. Yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah, he even had the badges set effects. Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that you didn't have your hyperstats for the IED all the way up. I mean, I guess if you're in like those later bosses, there's just so much IED coming in. That's probably something to go into if you get your third bossing fam right. Then you can get a little bit more IED from that. That'll probably be more optimal at that point. But until then, there's no real need.
I was wondering if I should opt for the Monster Park badge, because it does give a chunk of IED. And also it's like a weird flex. I don't know if that's actually worth though. I don't have a fancy schmancy legacy one, so yeah.
But what are you wearing now? Because is that Enfield or is that the one you're using?
Oh, for the badge?
No, for the medal. Sorry.
Oh, the metal is Monster Parker.
Oh, that's a Monster Park. Okay, so you're thinking about the combination. Yeah, I mean the combination is. No, I don't feel like it's ever worth the money. You just try to get the Black Mage one. What's your Black Mage setup? Are you like a solo carry that takes people with and you have badge prio, or do you run with like a bunch of people?
Well, on my journey for the Jenny weapon, I just kind of ran with randoms after a certain point, just to like get it out of the way and make it as fast as possible, because I feared the DC and loot room. Now I'm not really sure. I'm gonna try to solo. I tried to practice and it went pretty smooth. I just still died, but it would be nice just to get badge, not blink for anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for me, I had the potential badges, so I was just like, I just offered duo to people because I didn't want the pressure of soloing either. Like, it's fucking annoying. So I was just like, just duo with someone, and then they can just get badge prio, and then I can get my clear, and it's like a win-win. Plus, we can get some good boxes. But once you have your boxes and you have your 22 arcanes, it's really just there for the badge. And then, yeah, extreme BM is like because if you can really comfortably solo regular BM, you're probably getting towards extreme BM. And then with badges, that makes more sense, especially if it's a lot of high-level people that are looking for the augment. A bunch of them might already have the badge, even though it's still extremely rare, of course. You might not be in a big pool. I'm not sure on the maths, because it's kind of like looking at the like soloing normal slime versus partying sea slime kind of vibe, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, is soloing it better rate than like 6-man blinking for it every week? But then, of course, you get to the point, you get your 6 job and everything, and then you just solo sea slime much faster. So that's much more reasonable. And you don't have to worry about the Golex coins and all of that. That's a big up. But for that, there's no alternative. So it's really just the BM, and then they share clears as well. So there's no changing that. I think there's gonna be some changes in Black Mage, like in the not too distant future. I don't know if it's gonna be this summer already, but I feel like we need a new weapon, I think, before they're going to shift the difficulties and all of that. And when you look at it, because I was looking it up the other day, the release of the weapons, I forget what it was, but it might be that it's like 2018 or something, that like KMS did I misspell it? Genesis. I always misspell that because people who's like pronounced. Oh no, I do. Like old posts. I forget when it was, but it's like way older than I thought originally, and it makes sense for an item not to be like the best in slot for so long, right? But I think until we see an announcement like that, I don't think we see any changes to the Black Mage setup, and no changes to and because it's part of the Eternal set as well, and Eternal set isn't even completed yet, so it'll be after that, right? It'll be like killing Darmu or some shit. But I think we're already 4 or 5 years into, maybe borderline 6 into like Genesis weapons like existing and being best in slot, which is a long time when you think about it. But it might be off by some time.
So, do you think it's still worth to like push my weapon further? But well, besides flames, like should I try to like double prime it, attack, or should I just kind of hold on it and?
The weapon, because it's double prime, Probably not. The Katara probably, right? Probably for 3-line attack will be considerably better. You want to keep that balance between the two. But like 1-line a boss, if it's on a double prime, I think is acceptable. But if you're at the point where you're like looking also for 23s, in between, you know, waiting for pitches and waiting for Eternals, 3-line attack will probably be. But again, that's where the calculator can really come in, right? Because if that calculator says like, okay, switching that line for that line is like a 0.1% FD change, and you look at the expected cost, that might not be worth it for you. But if it's like, hey, this is like 2.5% FD change, and you look at all the other possible FD increases, and it's just far above any kind of alternative, then it would make sense to just go ham on that, right?
Okay.
So that's where having a full calculator, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of pre-work, but once you've got it set up, it'll give you a lot of clarity, and it'll answer a lot of these questions that a calculator can only do so much. You know, like a flame score can tell you like this is how it's going to compare to each other after you give me the numbers, but then you have to get those numbers first. Yeah, so that's the tricky part. And but that's something that a class Discord might help though. Like there might be someone already, a dual blader, who's already made that. I can already tell you those numbers, and then save you a lot of homework. And then that I can give you an idea of like, hey, if you're full 22 everything, you have like, what is it, 7-2 and 0? It was 7-2 and 0 versus 8-1 and 0. Like, does anyone know how much FD that is roughly? Yeah.
Okay.
Because anything else giving you 1 or 2% FD is probably gonna just cost you out the ass in terms of multi-dozen billions. Well, it's gonna be multi-dozen billions anyway for this as well, but might be hundreds of billions. Like into the 200s, going towards like half trill. Versus this is, what is it, 60 something? Secondary's kind of shit, right? Is it closer to, is it like 80? Secondary glowing legend 60 3-line. Yeah, 87. Well, average 60 median. 36 some people do, but that's that's a no-go. That makes more sense for the emblem, because like on the emblem it's way cheaper. So it's like less than half the cost, right? For the same amount of increase. And that's why it makes so much sense that so many people have like double prime emblems or accessories over like double prime CRA, because then you're like, what are you doing with your money, right? If you're already in that realm of inefficiency, then also applying the money even inefficiently on top of that is just like asking to waste your valuable time. All you have to show for it is fragments and levels at that point. And that ain't growing on trees either. Yeah, I imagine there's some endgame dual blades who probably would like to share their knowledge on that. People tend to be, as long as they get status from it, people tend to not to accuse any individual person, but if people put the work in and they have the knowledge, then people tend to like to talk about it.
Yeah. I'll hit him up.
Other than that, yeah, I mean, your combat power is already really nice. That's with 40% boss from Familiars on?
Yeah. And from the event, I don't know if that factors in, but yeah.
The event, probably not, because that would count as a buff, so that wouldn't be... But the Familiars, it counts as a passive, I believe.
Oh,
so
okay.
that the boss part at least, but then the ID does... Yeah, combat power is this whole... I know you saw, like, in TMS, they had an event where they would see they wanted people to solo bosses with, like, the lowest possible combat power. And there were 2 people who soloed C-Val with 0.
What?
It's like,
yeah.
Wait,
how?
Because weapon attack, the attack on your weapon is a final multiplier on combat power. So they would they would use a weapon with 0 attack on it. But then they would have a bunch of weapon attack from other things, and they would be on a dual blade with 100% IED built in and everything, right? So with having very little stuff on, they would just, kill the boss in like 8-9 seconds. but they would have 0 combat power in their stat window. So that's also when people are asking, like, how much combat power do I need for this boss, or like, how much combat power do you have? I'm really like, be very careful when just looking at combat power, because, like KMS doesn't have bossing fams, right? So boss damage past a certain point is extremely valuable and gets a really big score, but it's not linear in terms of, like, when I put my bossing fams on and I have my stat ring on, I go up to like 330 million, but it doesn't mean that I'm like, like 40% stronger than you or something. Like, that doesn't. It's really not that connection. Or when people are saying, like, can someone's mega or link this item? It's like, what does that really tell you? It tells you, like, the range difference. But what is the range, right? I thought we established that damage range is a shit number to look at, because it's like part of the calculation, right? That doesn't really tell you how much FD difference is going to be, like how much damage. You need to do that calculator, sadly. I wish that the stat window had that for you, like, what is your current stat equivalence? Even though that wouldn't be perfect, right? Because stat equivalents can change over time, but it would be way more valuable, I think, than, it's better now than it used to be, right? It used to be just like, hey, damage range here and damage range here. Look at how big these numbers are. It's like, it doesn't say anything, right? But if it had stat equivalents in there, I think that would already be way more. That would make it way more intuitive for people as well to understand. Oh, because that's one thing I did want to say. One thing I can help you on. Okay. Is that in your Legion grid, you've got your points in attack instead of in stat. And in your Legion grid, your luck is 5 and your attack is only 3. And so, or roughly. And since you also have way more attack on your secondary weapon, your attack is a little bit lower in value. And you want to have luck in your Legion grid filled up instead of attack for that reason.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering
Gains!
about that. Yeah, woo, big gain. Let's go.
Oh
we
my
got
god,
it.
see Carlos, we hit that BA.
I'm ready.
Yeah, but that is counterintuitive, because early on people are like, I want to get as much attack as possible, right? Because the only thing that has attack is your weapon, and then everything else is and fix your boss soul for attack percent. I mean, I assume that that's a work in progress. Getting a lot of boss souls, and I did like a year of every single character, 10-minute drop coupon per day, doing normal Queen, normal Magnus, normal Vellum, normal Arc, Helix kind of thing, to build up my characters, and then have a huge backlog of or pile, I guess, of boss souls, but magnificent soul, so I could just throw on whatever. But most people are not in that situation, so it's understandable. But I mean, I guess that is 3% attack versus 7% boss when you're a little over boss, but you're using. Yeah, that's the other thing. If you're solo bossing, continuous is really good, and then you're gonna go over in damage. Then attack lines will gain value. But then if you're roaring on extremely burst bosses and you go higher on attack, and then boss lines are actually pretty good value past a certain point. So having at least one boss line is probably the best place you want to be at. And that's a prime on a weapon, so I'm totally good with that. And you have a little bit more boss in your secondary, right? Because I got built-in boss that the arcane one doesn't have.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 30 boss and 10 ID, yeah. And it's 10 ID, very important for Dual Blade, of course.
Oh yes.
So I feel like if you were to do anything with WC, it's like, get Saren Emblem with 3-line attack on there, and probably 3-line attack on secondary. That would be my guess. And other than that, it's like 23ing, and then going like super borderline autismo, I guess, on like the flames on Eternal, right? Because if you're this close to Eternal now, imagine how long that's going to be meta for.
Yeah.
Like you were there in the beginning when Arcane came out, right? And then how many layers of them making it easier to get arcanes were done after that, before that became like the standard. So that's kind of the similar future that we're going to see with Eternal. So investing in that now and then being settled. But then again, like once you have it, then what's the goal? Save even more money for the stuff that comes after that. Like it never ends, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, you're going to have to in some degree wrestle with the to which extent do you play the game, and to which extent do you let the game play you? That's the constant struggle with this game. Because if you leave it up to the game, you're playing it 25 hours a day, 8 days a week, and it just never ends. Yeah. It's satisfying though to see like all the potentials, like everything perfect 3-line, everything 22. Like, I know that there's like an insane amount of work that already went into this, so you want that to mean something for the future as well.
Yeah,
Because if you
I was
quit for
up
two
like.
years and you come back, your character is going to be considered like mediocre, which would suck.
Mm-hmm.
Because the game changes so quickly. That's the wild thing. Because I took a break for 2 years, I came back and my character was like yeah, it's just junk. A burn event would get that in like 2 weeks if I would to put the time in. But it was like 17,000 hours of grinding for me in like old Maple. So it's like you could feel a certain type of way. It's understandable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what got me back. Was like, man, like I took a hiatus a long time ago, and I came back. And my friends are like maxed arcane symbols. I'm like, oh, that could have
Mm-hmm.
been me, and now I gotta catch up. Ugh. So now I'm like, all right, I'm gonna stay on forever and do my sack symbol dailies and
Yeah.
never miss a
But
day
but
for
like you
3
saw with
years.
the arcane stuff, like way back in the day, like I think I kept 4 characters on like or on arcane symbols when it was just like 8 vanishing journey a day, and that was it. No double up from Reverse City, no weekly no daily extra that turned into weekly now. None of that.
Yeah.
And then, but now if you want to cap, now capping feels somehow more tedious because you can do more things, but you can cap so much faster on arcane now.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's insane how quickly you can be done, right? And same thing is going to happen for Cernium, because now the big obstacle I think is in the beginning, getting into those first like Siren runs, because needing 200 for the first sacred boss is a lot. So they're
Mm-hmm.
really pressuring you to not just stop at 260 or like get to 262 or something. They want you to get to 275, and they want
Mm-hmm.
you to have like 1, 2, 3, 4 areas unlocked, so you can start building up with a reasonable speed. But already, I maxed out my Hotel Arcus on just 5 symbols a day. Jesus Christ, fucking tortured. Oh my god, 5 symbols a day is depressing. And now it's like 10 a day, which is still, you ask people now is nothing, but I mean that's double, half the time.
Yeah.
That's already such a huge power spike. So you can only imagine what the next KMS updates are going to be like when they start adding weeklies into those areas, for example.
Mm-hmm.
They're always like shortcutting a little bit, or like the monster park. So like every single time you're like, new character is going to take forever, and then suddenly you have like a new monster park area comes out, and you could just get like a level a day or something. Up to a certain point, it's like free EXP. They're always just trying to get you. It's not like they want you to be strong. They want you to have access to more content, so you feel like there's more that you can miss out on.
Yeah.
Right. That's just what
Mm-hmm.
it. So as long as you have that in the back of your brain, and it's ultimately just your decision, then. But then you still have to decide. It's easier if you let the game decide for you. But yeah, the consequences
The
are rip
consequences.
social life, rip everything else. Yeah. So yeah, if you're looking for a different guild, you can join. No, I'm just kidding.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. No, yeah, no, it's yeah, it can be very helpful having that competitive environment if you want to, get into endgame for sure. I think
Mhm.
that for this game though, there's a lot of people who want to get into endgame, but they don't want to do what's required to get to endgame, and I think that's good because this game takes a lot to get to endgame, and I think most people shouldn't put that much time and effort into one game. I just don't think it's healthy.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would have a big shift. Endgame gets pushed even further, and the amount of time you need stays roughly the same, right? Because the game speeds up early on all the time, but it doesn't. It never goes down. Like at best, it stays about the same, which is an insane. I mean, like look at like Nero getting level 300. The amount of time into that is just astronomical. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's like, people are wondering if there's gonna be another 290 area, and it's like, oh, I guess I'll never stop. I guess I'll just keep
Yeah.
grinding.
Yeah, because that's the thing, right? Like you have the bosses, like 285, you can do like all of the bosses that are like realistically possible, but people want to be at 290 so they can be ready for the new area when it comes out, so they can get to 295 so you can be in the next area. And if you get to 300, well, then the level cap just goes up. It's just endless, It's just, once 300 somehow becomes reasonable, probably the next EXP cut is probably going to be like between 260 and 275 or something. They'll probably cut like a big amount of EXP or maybe up to 280, like a big percentage of the EXP needed just to push everyone through the game. Again, not because they want people to be a high level. Because I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if this is like preaching to the choir or anything, but if you have level 300 as the max and level 280 means a certain thing for like 2 years, if you now make level 280 easier to get, people won't feel like 280 is now worth less because in their mind it's been worth a certain thing for like 2 years. So people will still feel very accomplished for reaching that, even though they had to work way less hard for it. So technically it is a lesser achievement. But because people have been aiming for it for so long, it still has that value in people's heads. So they can give people what they want with less effort while making it less valuable without making people feel like it is less valuable. Like it's diabolical again, but it's brilliant. But MapleStory does that very well in like manipulating people into feeling like they're accomplishing so much by just making it easier and less of an accomplishment to when they get it. I think that's why the game has been around for so long, and with varying degrees has been so successful as a result.
Yeah, it still surprises me. Like, I played Maple when I was a kid, and it's like, how is this game still around like 20 years later?
Yeah, people felt like they were babies when they started playing, and now they have their own babies and they're still playing somehow. Yeah, not too many games just exist for that long.
Yeah.
There's been touch and go a few times, but we're still around. Just keep grinding. Yeah, it's all a different kind of grind. Yeah, some people just grind bosses, some people grind levels, some people grind Legion. It's all we're all eating a grind sandwich.
Grind buffet. All you can grind.
Yeah, never done. Okay. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about? Any other topic we hadn't touched on?
No, I think you covered everything. It was very helpful. Thank you so much. And, especially because I was like 10 days late. I'm sorry. My YouTube notice are not on.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I reached out to 2 other people, and then one of those didn't reply, so I was like, oh, fuck it, I guess I'll take you back then.
Nice.
Yeah, well, that's the one thing. That's why I changed it, because like replying to YouTube comments is one thing, and then somebody who sees that can just reach out to me and be like, hey, I was that person. Like, there's no... Because a lot of times people didn't put their Discord name in, so it's like it's just a bad system. So now what I did last month is like, hey, when I do community posts, I realized a lot of people actually reply to community posts on YouTube. So I'll just do a community post like, hey, can you guys just send a message here if you want to win, and then I'll just draw a winner tomorrow. Instead of a month later, maybe people don't even play Maple anymore since the time that they left the comment. I mean, originally it was just to get interaction and to get comments on the YouTube videos, right? But I noticed a lot of times like it doesn't really work. People just like have them in the background when they're grinding and everything. So this worked way better, and it's way less time for me, and it's way easier for people to be able to reach out quickly. So I'm just doing that from now on. I don't know why I didn't start doing that like 4 months ago, but 5 months ago. So, but yeah. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, you're welcome. Good luck with the... Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of effort, but doing like the big calculator. But it should give you more clarity in your stat equivalence. And like I said, like some other dual players might have already done it, so you may even be able to save yourself the work if people have like more elaborate, built-out collections of those numbers, and that you can use as a starting point. And then you'll be able to see for those really huge investments, like what makes more sense for your account and what is just a, what is a pipe dream. Once you start working in like, trillions, it's like, it becomes crazy. It becomes life controlling, essentially. Yeah, and then
that's what the calculator is like. That's all I see is like 500 billions. I'm like, Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the expected cost. People luck into it, and people luck into it all the time because billions of mesos are spent every minute, on people rolling. But is it a realistic thing to aim for if you look at the averages? That's the guiding principle, yeah. Because everyone got lucky on one item or two, but rolling it consistently on everything is, then the cost is just what it is. So
it could be me. I could be the lucky one.
Could be you, yeah. Well, that's why I sometimes look at like the intervals of like the percentiles, right? Like 75 or 85% chance, because you think like, oh my god, that's so much higher, but because 85% interval is usually like around double. That's like a whole standard deviation. So and you're like, oh, but it's like, wait a minute, 85%. That's one in 7 people. How many people are cubing? what is the chance that I'm going to be one of those 1 in 7 like at some point? That's like a really high chance. So then you start getting even more risk averse, and then you start looking at these costs, and you're like, yeah, maybe that's just not for me. You know, maybe I'll just work on my 7th character to C10A, and that's where my brain goes. And then what we talked about before with like the having different characters in different phases of the game, and being able to play with friends or with guildies or just exchanging stuff. That has value too.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I wish you best of luck on everything. And
Thank you.
yeah, it was a little bit heavy maybe at certain points, but it's sometimes
reality.
difficult. Yeah, reality. Everyone has to deal with time management and all that stuff, and I like going into the topics like that, but it's easy to just keep doing your dailies and keep doing your weeklies, and I fall into that pitfall as well, and you just kind of like shove it to the side, and then it bottles up, right? Like it builds up, it doesn't really go away, so it's good to address it every now and then.
And good luck to you. Thank you so much. All right.
Yes, thank you.
I gotta go.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. See ya. All right. How'd the call go? It went great, Discord. Thank you very much. Okay, so if you guys are in a similar situation, or you can relate to certain topics or things that we talked about, we didn't talk as much about like gear and how to get to 19. It's very late game, borderline end game, like with some of my character, the higher level characters I have. Although their matrix, the hexa matrix, is way better than any of mine are. You got a 19 and a 30 and a 12, like that's and a 9 and a 5. Yeah, that's way better built out than mine are. And hit a 10 on one of the hexa stats, so that's nice. But there's already a second one as well. So yeah, in some areas, this person already way further in the game than I am, as even on my higher level characters. But that's why we talk about a bunch of different things within a session. We talk about the importance of like Sweetwater stuff, the importance of getting very strong drop rate gear, the importance of waiting for pitch stuff, and how to address waiting. Where do you spend your money? Where do you spend your time building out your the income for Blackheart pets? No, Blackheart hearts. The destroyed ones, and then turning into the big ones, right? All of that. So hopefully there's some stuff here and there that you guys could relate to or have questions about. If you have questions or remarks or feedback or guild ideas, anything like that, make sure to leave it in the comments down below. I read all the comments, so that's interesting. If you want to win one of these sessions as well, make sure you keep your eyes open on YouTube for the community post. I'll make one probably when I get back from my vacation, so probably somewhere around the beginning of the Go West update, probably. So probably early to mid June, somewhere around my birthday, which is June 12th. So that's going to be on the day of patch. We're going to just be sitting here waiting for the patch to go live, I guess. But I also do these sessions for anyone as like paid sessions, so you could just buy my time. You could talk about like bossing if you're stuck on something. You could talk about progression. You could talk about equips. You could talk about anything that comes to mind. You basically buy my time and my expertise, and I will do my very best to help you out and set you on your way to make sure that you can maintain the fun in the game and keep efficiency from your time, because we're all limited on time. We all have real life stuff going on as well, and we want to achieve things, but we also want to keep having fun. It can be a difficult balance, so I'm at your disposal for the right price. But check out !Mark Coaching over in the Twitch chat. You can see the Twitch chat there over on the left, flipping you off right now. Probably flipping themselves off because they might watch the videos later themselves. A little bit of self-hate. There. So also, if you have any questions, I don't do like only paid sessions and stuff. I answer all the questions that people might have as well during my live streams. The main thing I do is stream over at Twitch, twitch.tv/Scardor. If you want to check me out there, feel free to drop by. You're always welcome. And you can also earn these sessions by, if you're subscribed over on Twitch, which is cheaper, and you just watch the stream, you get currency, and with the currency you can also buy sessions. So that also is another way that you can get these advice sessions from me. Short, long, whatever you want. As girthy as you can think of. They're available. So yeah, thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you either live on twitch.tv or in the next video. Thanks for checking it out.